You're not going to stop me from leaving if I want to leave. Am I under arrest?
So he has the warrants. They're signed. They're legal. It's a court order. I know you guys are just doing your job, but that's all I want. I want the phones. That's it.
I told you. You have your search warrant says to search me for personal phones?
He has the phones. He already told me he has the phones.
Okay.
On March 22nd, 2020, in Espanola, New Mexico, a man named Philip Chacon locked himself inside his house after a stabbing incident. The police surrounded the house, and Sheriff James Lujan arrived in plain clothes, insisting they pull back and let him handle Chacon. He seemed intoxicated, and officers requested higher authority to intervene due to his behavior. Eventually, Chacon surrendered, but Sheriff Lujan's strange actions led to charges against him, including searches of his personal and official phones. On May 14th, the Espanola Police Department attempted to execute search warrants at the Rio Arriba Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Lujan was supposed to comply with the judge's orders and allow officers to search him and his pockets for his phones, which were the subject of the warrants. However, Sheriff Lujan attempted to evade the warrants by giving his phones to his colleague, Under Sheriff Martin Trujillo. Sheriff Lujan questioned the validity of the warrants and insisted on speaking to his lawyer, even though challenging a search warrant during its execution is typically done in court, not on the spot. Surprisingly, the Espanola officers allowed the sheriff to call his lawyer and move freely within the office, highlighting the special privileges often afforded to fellow officers in the line of duty. This situation is unusual, given that law enforcement agencies often conduct surprise raids, seize illegal items, and access personal information in the name of justice.
It doesn't have the case number on here for the original.
Right there.
That's a PD case number. It doesn't have a magistrate or district case. This is in district court too, and this is a magistrate warrant. Okay? This case is already in district court.
This is a magistrate warrant.
You understand that this case is in district court, right? Did you get a district court judge to approve it?
District court judges don't do search warrants anymore. They just don't. They put them all down to magistrate.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
They just don't do them.
Okay.
However, it's crucial that warrants are issued by impartial judges who assess the evidence and necessity for the search, as outlined in the Supreme Court case Coolidge v. Hampshire, 1971. Law enforcement must provide detailed sworn statements to justify the search and specify the location and items to be seized. The search warrant being served targets Sheriff Lujan's work and personal phones, which he used during the March 22nd standoff with Mr. Chacon. Under Sheriff Trujillo takes the phones and begins to walk away, prompting Espanola officers to instruct deputies to keep an eye on the phones to prevent any tampering. The sheriff and undersheriff return to the front of the office, occasionally moving out of sight from officers. Interim Police Chief Roger Jimenez arrives, inquiring about Sheriff Lujan's compliance with the warrants. The chief emphasizes the legality of the warrants and expresses a desire for the phones to be handed over. Despite reluctance, Sheriff Lujan agrees to comply with the court order, but insists on contacting his attorney. Espanola officers insist on obtaining the phones, prompting a brief confrontation, but the situation remains unresolved as the sheriff maintains he already gave the phones to Under Sheriff Trujillo. The episode underscores the deputy's loyalty to the sheriff, even in the face of legal proceedings. The Espanola officers executed a valid search warrant as part of their duty to uphold the law. However, the Rio Arriba deputies' failure to comply with the warrant raises serious concerns about their department's competence and adherence to legal boundaries. This incident underscores a significant disparity between their ability to perform their duties within the law and their understanding of the justice system. During the confrontation, Sheriff Lujan questioned the search warrant, and the Espanola officers emphasized its validity. The pattern of behavior suggests a recurring issue, and the sheriff insisted on seeking legal counsel before complying. While the officers demanded immediate compliance, the sheriff argued that the court order didn't specify a time frame for surrendering the phones. The situation remained unresolved as the sheriff claimed he no longer had the phones, which were now with his undersheriff.
The phones. This is all harassment and retaliation because I told the city council that you shouldn't be the chief. That's what it is.
Think whatever you want.
I don't think, I know.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. Go ahead and give it to him. These phones are not to be gone through until you have a warrant for the content. You only have a warrant for the phones,
You're
not the
absolutely
content.
right.
You're absolutely right.
And good luck, and you better not come through a magistrate. You better go through a district court judge.
Thank you, Under Sheriff.
Go.
Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
They later obtained a search warrant for the phone's contents and discovered that Sheriff Lujan had not surrendered the correct phone used during the March 22nd incident, as specified in the warrant. Upon realizing that the sheriff had not adhered to the search warrant terms, an arrest warrant was issued. On May 21st, the Espanola Police Department arrested Sheriff Lujan at his office, adding a charge of resisting arrest to his existing ones. Overall, Sheriff Lujan and the Rio Arriba Sheriff's Office mishandled the situation. They failed to comply with the search warrants, turned a lawful situation into a passive-aggressive standoff, and actively shielded the sheriff from a court order. The deputy's unwavering loyalty highlights a problematic dynamic found in some police departments nationwide, where department interests sometimes take precedence over proper law enforcement, endangering communities. If the sheriff's actions imply guilt, he could be prosecuted for his crimes, with the hidden cell phone potentially revealing more charges. The sheriff's claims of retaliation lacked evidence, and the Espanola Police Department granted unusual courtesies, allowing the sheriff and his deputies to evade immediate arrest, a privilege not typically extended to ordinary citizens. This leniency contrasts with standard procedures in most interactions with regular citizens, highlighting an issue of fairness under the law.